I've been spending the last hour or so working on this styrofoam drawing. As of now, all I have left to do are the shoes. And this is the only styrofoam drawing I made for one of either Dad's friends or family that we haven't given away yet, since it's intended for someone within the apartment. Oh, the rest we gave away when me and Dad visited his parents at around, I believe, 1 in the afternoon. We actually left around noon. And this mac and cheese was homemade by Dad's mom. And she gave it to us in, I believe, a plastic sandwich-like bag. One of those plastic sandwich bags. I microwaved this for 2 minutes. Dad added the steak and the shredded cheese. We left around noon, but Dad first got his car checked briefly because of the check engine light. And then he made a quick stop in order to make a bank withdrawal from an ATM. While at his parents' place, we first have his parents open up the gifts. The other wreath intended for Dad's mom was pulled out of a red paperish bag by Dad's dad. And the Rudolph reindeer styrofoam drawing, which was wrapped in wrapping paper, was opened by Dad's mom. They liked both styrofoam drawings and are planning on hanging them up, based off of my recollections. Thankfully, they just planning on having it hang by a nail. They're not planning on driving a nail through it, since I would prefer to just have the pieces hang by a nail rather than hang off a nail rather than by a nail. I added in a city expansion so that I primarily could upgrade this scrolls manufactory, but I ended up also placing this ice slide building that I won from this, which was primarily so I could have more mana producing buildings. I replaced the scrolls manufactory with this building. That's why I did that. To have more unique buildings that produce mana. Since I'm saving up, in order to upgrade the main hall. I've been putting my knowledge points into this in order to increase both my training size and my production of basic units. After visiting Dad's parents, me and Dad initially planned on going to Perry's. Actually, before we planned on going to Perry's, we planned on going to a diner. At that point, around roughly 9 in the morning, when I woke Dad up, I had been up since, I believe, roughly midnight. I only ended up falling asleep after the visit at Salvatore's. At around I think it was around 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Ended up getting up around 10:30 p.m. I think largely what motivated us to go to Salvatore's was that today, specifically on Thursdays, like today, they have a deal where you can get a sub for $10. I, in particular, got a Philly cheesesteak with yellow American cheese, bacon, onions, mayo, and black olives. And I think Dad got roughly the same thing, only maybe with mushrooms, effectively replacing the bacon and the mayo. And towards the end of our at least hour-long stay at Salvatore's, Dad got another of the same sub I initially ate there, along with some fruity cocktails. That second sub was taken home and put in our fridge here in order to have sometime tomorrow, maybe around noon or so. A friend of Dad's named Andy early on stopped by and stayed at the table we sat in, of which these tables were pretty high up. And basically had bar stools for chairs. That is, the chairs had no back to them, so to speak. Andy talked about essentially minor life experiences and about various topics. Oops. The various flat screen TVs had, some of them had a show called Hot Bench. That is always a little bit frightening. I have no idea if it was a sudden driver failure. I just had Elvinar running in the background as I was speaking. And probably not the laptop overheating. Doesn't feel that hot. In the hours before, our little day excursion, day to somewhat night excursion, and I mean all of the hours from pretty much from I woke up, I worked on this styrofoam drawing. And I also worked on it in the hour or so after I woke up. I had concerns that I would maybe sleep through midnight, so I did at least one Duolingo lesson during a stop at a parking lot. Yeah, which I think was to get some rum. Right before I fell asleep, Dad made me essentially a glass of eggnog with some rum in it. And right before we visited his parents, he went to Almen's, I recall it being called, which, as I recall, is something called, I think Dad called it a green market or something, a kind of store that sells plants in order to get flowers for at least his mom. I got a traditional Christmas themed card in that it mentioned Jesus Christ. And I think Dad got a different card, but maybe it had the same theme. I'm not entirely sure at this time. My card had $50 in it, though I made sure to read all the text. It said rejoice on the outside front, and inside there actually wasn't that much text to read. A child is born this day, and essentially grandma, grandpa written on it. As for Dad, he got 3 $100 bills. It turns out that wasn't a driver failure. It just turns out that the game suddenly crashed. Probably nothing a quick refresh can't fix. There it is. I got it back. The eggnog with rum that I had both right before I fell asleep and right after waking up. It was both bitter and sweet, but it was primarily sweet with a bit of bitterness. At this point, I don't know what exact brand of rum Dad got. There was at some point plans for some quick driving lessons, but we didn't squeeze that in between visiting his parents, during which we also got some cookies, since I asked about cookies, since in the past we were given cookies while visiting Dad's parents. And towards the end, we briefly went upstairs and I got to see Dad's old bedroom. And it helped to prove that he's been a fan of the Minnesota Vikings for a very long time.